everyone. I hope you're getting ready for Christmas, even though it's still summer technically. We always want to get a head start on our Christmas cards, and I have a project that I want to share with you today using some products from Picket Fence Studios. In today's project, we're going to be doing some mask stenciling, and that'll make more sense as we go along here. But one of the products that I'm using today from Picket Fence, which is the Winter Forest Scenery Slimline Stencil Set. This stencil set is actually really helpful in creating some awesome masked stencil designs. So that stencil set is the set you see in the middle of my screen here. I'm also going to be using the JOYEUX NOEL and also the Winter Snowflakes dies, which are products from Picket Fence as well. The slimline stencil set comes with not just the stencil, but also the masks. These are pieces that will fit over your stencil design, such as this deer here. This negative of the deer will actually fit over top and allow you to ink blend around it. But before we get to the stenciling, I did use the Winter Snowflakes dies, and I cut those out of some white cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. We'll be decorating our scene with these. I find it helpful for intricate dies like this to use my Tim Holtz pokey tool to poke out all those little bits of paper that might get stuck. All right, here I'm pulling out the Circle Mask Stencil Set from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm going to tape this onto a piece of A2 white cardstock. This is Simon Says Stamp 120-pound white cardstock. This circle mask is going to create a circle scene for all of my other stenciling. On top of this circle mask, I'm going to lay the trees from that slimline stencil set from Picket Fence right over top of that. I'll tape all that down so it doesn't shift as I do my ink blending, which will be done with Distress inks. I'm using Simon Says Stamp blending brushes for my ink blending today. First off, I'm going to use the smaller brush to really kind of get a good blend in this small area of trees. These are detailed, and I want to make sure I get really close up against that stencil to make sure I capture all those detailed areas nicely. And the colors that I'm using are Bundled Sage, Peeled Paint, and Pine Needles. These blend together really pretty and create a beautiful blend. All right, so once we have our stenciling done, we'll remove that tree stencil and make sure that the circle mask is still in place, and then lay the negative of the trees on top of the trees we just ink blended. This is going to mask off the trees so that we can create a beautiful blended background behind them. And so everything will be seamless and it's going to look really pretty. I'm going to start off with Salvaged Patina, and I'm going to blend that light color around the edges of my paper, creating a little bit of a halo. In the center of my panel, I'm going to ink blend Salty Ocean. This is a really nice bright blue, and it's going to transition between the Salvaged Patina and my Chipped Sapphire color, which is the darkest shade that I'm using here. It's going to transition really nicely with that. So Chipped Sapphire, I'm going to blend out and fade it into the other colors just to make everything nice and smooth. And I did use a larger Simon Says Stamp blending brush to do the blending for the background. All right, so now it's time to add some splatters to this sky. You don't have to do this, but I really like the texture that this provides, and it almost kind of creates the effect of snow or stars in the night sky. After that has dried, we'll carefully remove all those stencils and masks and reveal that really cool scene that gets left behind after all of our inking. I pulled out a Simon Says Stamp nested circle die that's a little bit larger than my circle scene, and I'm going to cut this out so it has a nice white border. For my card base, I'm going to create an embossed background using this Filigree Snowflake embossing folder. This is a Simon Says Stamp embossing folder. I'm going to put some blue cardstock inside, and I'm going to line this up so it's centered up with the design. I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. For my sandwich, I'm using a Big Shot, and I'm going to use the lowest platform setting, lay my embossing folder on top, and then one cutting plate. This sandwich might be different depending on which machine you have, so be sure to reference your machine's instructions for embossing folders. After this has been embossed, it's creating a really nice texture for the background of my scene. Those snowflakes that we die cut at the beginning of this video, these are going to get tucked around the scene and also layered on top too. It creates some nice snow dimension. I'm using Simon Says Stamp Craft Tacky Glue to adhere these down. This glue is really nice because it's strong and it also dries pretty quickly. So I love using this for die cuts because of the precision tip too. I can really get into nice tight areas. Before I finish this card off and add any other additional embellishments, I want to splatter this with some shimmer mist. This happens to be from Brutus Monroe. Any shimmer mist you have though would work for this. You just want something that's going to dry a bit transparent. So I'll splatter this across the background just to create a little bit more texture in addition to those water splatters. And this will also add some nice shimmer for a bit of sparkle. I popped this scene on top of my card using foam tape. This card is not really dimensional too much. This is one layer of foam tape here, and then I'll also use some foam tape to attach my greeting onto the card as well. And that greeting happens to be from the JOYEUX NOEL set, and I'm going to position this along the bottom right of the scene. I plan on stamping this onto some Schoolhouse Red cardstock with Simon Says Stamp clear embossing ink. This is a nice sticky ink that will hold onto the white embossing powder that I'm going to sprinkle on top. This is going to create a really nice crisp greeting that'll pop nicely off of my card and also add that nice pop of Christmas red. I'll use my heat gun to make sure I set this and melt the embossing powder. Once I have done that, I'll use my fine tip scissors to trim the greeting out. I give a little bit of an edge around the greeting so that it looks like it has an outline. This sentiment doesn't have a die, but you can easily create that look by just simply using some scissors and cutting around, leaving a little bit of space around the actual stamped greeting. So this is the other place that I added just a bit of foam tape for some dimension. Not a whole lot of dimension on this card, which makes it a little easier to mail. I pulled out some gems from Honeybee Studios. These are really pretty. There's some really nice colors in this gem pack. They match up nicely with the colors that I used in my card. I do have this gem pack and all the other supplies that I'm using today listed below the video. And the best part is that they are already have adhesive on the back of them, so it makes sticking them onto your project super simple. To finish off this card, I just needed to put my embossed background and all the pieces that are on top of it onto an A2 sized card, which I made from the same blue cardstock that I did the embossing on. And then that's going to complete this beautiful Christmas card using some products from Picket Fence Studios. The mask stenciling makes this card look so cool. It has a really beautiful snowy effect, and we have that bright green set it off by the night sky, and then we added those bright pops of other colors to help accent and add to the Christmas feel. I hope that today's project has inspired you to create maybe this card or maybe any of the techniques that I shared today will inspire you to create something else. Either way, I hope you were inspired and that you enjoyed. Don't forget that you can subscribe to our channel for additional inspiration, and I'll be back very soon to share more crafty ideas with you. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.